What do you wish more women knew about how men operated?
There's 10,000 times more going on inside the head of a man than you have any idea. He's carrying burdens that you don't have a clue about. And he don't know how to express them, and he don't know what to do about it. And he figures if he puts it out there and communicates it, he's just going to be shot down, called a fool, called weak. So he carries it inside, and you have no clue the burdens and the hell that most men are carrying inside and not even showing you. The average man does not need to go get therapy for the battles and the burdens he's carrying inside. What he needs is for those that he's carrying them for to recognize that they're there and to respect it and to be grateful for it.
Men, in the broadest sense, occupy a terrain of evolving expectations and shifting cultural norms. These expectations color how a boy grows, how a teenager struggles, how a young adult maneuvers, and how a mature individual finds his footing in the world. Throughout history, different societies have laid down firm ideas about how men should behave, whether stoic and unemotional or physically dominant and brave.
You're doing good, man. I'm just here to tell you you're doing good. Wow, I feel like I'm talking to myself. You notice, don't be so hard. Man, it's so funny. These are all the things that people tell me. Wow. Just don't be afraid to lean on the people around you, you know. Just hug your wife a little extra. Hug yourself a little extra. You know, I think you're doing great, man. If you're brave enough to share what's going on with you, man, damn. That's huge, dog. It's huge. You doing that just lets me know I'm okay. You're doing good, man. You're doing things I'm afraid to do. Have a family, have a wife. You giving me strength. We'll be thinking about you, dog. I'll tell you that.
Over time, these notions have morphed and changed in light of social progress, yet vestiges of tradition remain. This can lead to internal conflicts. One part of the psyche might hold on to traditional markers of masculinity, while another part, attuned to modern values, yearns for new ways of expressing what it means to be a man. Within that tension lies a complex landscape of hopes, fears, and uncertainties. Early on, a boy watches the men around him, fathers, uncles, teachers, family friends, and internalizes certain patterns of behavior. He sees which traits earn respect. He witnesses how men communicate, argue, show affection, or suppress it entirely. He observes how men carry themselves in the face of challenges. From those observations, the seed of his own masculine identity begins to sprout. There is no singular, universal method of learning to become a man, but these early impressions take deep root, even in the face of other influences, friends, media, cultural artifacts. The models provided by the most immediate adult figures shape the boy's sense of what is expected of him. Emotions are often a focal point of tension. In many cultures, men are encouraged to keep their feelings under firm control. Anger might be tolerated as a powerful expression, but tenderness or tears may be discouraged.
Realizing that you becoming a man is realizing that the fact that you're not gonna get the same amount of love that other people get. You not genuinely go get that unconditional love that other people receive, and you're not gonna get the same attention. You're not gonna get none of that shit. Realizing that you have to be a support system, realizing that you got to be security, and realizing that you have to be a provider, realizing that you have to give out all these things to other people, but you get nothing back in return. Realizing that your real life problems don't mean shit to other people. They go tell you at the end of the day, just be a man about it. Realizing that people will actually clown you for showing your true emotional side just because you're a human being. Realizing when you alive, people treat you like you dead. But when you dead, that's when people want to appreciate you. You got to go through real life shit every single day and people don't understand what you go through. The weight of the world be on your shoulders 24/7 because you feel like in order to be happy that you have to become successful. You have to be willing to fix everybody else's problems around you and make them happy, but when they come to you, you feel worthless.
This message can be subtle or overt, yet it tends to embed the idea that real men do not cry, do not show weakness, and do not openly discuss vulnerabilities. As a boy inches closer to adolescence, he may grapple with the realization that the emotional landscape within him is far richer than society seems ready to accept. He might yearn to openly share fears, insecurities, or sadness, but the code of masculine conduct can leave him feeling constrained. Those constraints often contribute to silent struggles that persist into adulthood. The mental health of men, especially about anxiety, depression, or other emotional concerns, sometimes remains hidden behind a stoic exterior, a facade that can be difficult to penetrate. Transitioning into adolescence brings an additional layer of upheaval, physical changes, social pressures, academic challenges, and the first stirrings of romantic or sexual desire can all combine to create a swirl of confusion. In that swirl, a teenage boy might work overtime to prove himself, whether academically, athletically, or socially. Friend groups can become arenas of jockeying for status, guided by unspoken rules of masculinity and hierarchy. The wish to belong can be powerful, pushing him to take risks or behave in ways that align with the group's idea of manliness. At the same time, there may be profound individual desires, intellectual pursuits, or emotional sensitivities he longs to explore, but fears will be dismissed by peers as insufficiently masculine. This tug-of-war between individuality and group norms can sow seeds of self-doubt or cultivate a fierce determination to stake a claim in the world. Both outcomes can occur simultaneously. Arriving at young adulthood, the man now confronts a broader range of societal expectations. Career choices, educational paths, and personal relationships all intersect with the question of who he wants to be.
You're a man. You are a man. Stand up and be a man. Make the hard decisions. Make the sacrifices. Make the unpopular decisions. And become comfortable in your own skin. And if you are not a person that you are comfortable being alone with, that is the one person in this universe that you have full power, full right, and full responsibility to change. Okay? I don't have the right, I don't have the desire to, and I do not have the right to try to change my wife's personality and who she is. I don't have the right to change anybody except myself. Now, there's people out there I don't like, and if I don't like them, I just walk away. I'm 55 years old. I've done without that person my whole dang life. I don't need them now. And I don't have the right or the desire to try to change them.
I did it! We won!
They grow up so fast that before you know it, they're out of your hands.
The modern man might sense pressure to become financially stable, romantic, physically fit, emotionally available. socially conscious, and intellectually engaged, all at once. The swirl of expectations can be intense. Some men might find solace in focusing on one dimension at a time, such as building a professional identity or mastering a particular craft, while others might aspire to be Renaissance figures adept at many things. Neither path is inherently right or wrong, but the internal dialogue can be fraught. He might wonder if he is living up to a vision of success that was defined by parents or cultural standards rather than by his innate sense of purpose. Finding purpose is a significant aspect of psychological well-being. For many, this journey involves experimentation. A man might try one career, then pivot to another. He might find meaning in the arts, in public service, in entrepreneurship, or scientific endeavor. The label of success often hinges on external measures, salary, social position, accolades, but true fulfillment can be more elusive, requiring introspection about what brings joy, what sparks creativity, and what contributes to a sense of making a difference in the world. Some men discover that their best contribution might involve hands-on work, mentoring younger individuals, or nurturing a hidden talent that redefines how they see themselves. That discovery can be both empowering and disorienting, especially if it veers from the path that was expected of them. Leadership as a concept intertwines with manhood in many cultures. It is often presumed that a man will naturally assume leadership roles, whether in the family, the workplace, or society at large. Yet leadership is not an automatic function of biological sex. It is a skill set requiring empathy, communication, vision, and resilience. The archetype of the strong, silent leader who issues commands without explaining them is fading in many contemporary settings, replaced by a more nuanced view that values collaborative techniques, emotional intelligence, and the capacity to listen. For a man raised with the older ideal, adapting to these new requirements can be challenging. There can be discomfort in showing vulnerability at work or in a family context. Yet time and again, research shows that effective leadership depends on genuine connection and understanding. The old notion of a leader as infallible and distant no longer holds universal sway. True leadership today often involves a willingness to learn from mistakes, accept feedback, share credit for success, and remain open to new ideas. At the same time, the pressures of leadership can weigh heavily. A man might feel he needs to have all the answers, particularly if others look to him for guidance. That can lead to stress, burnout, and feelings of inadequacy. If he cannot live up to the idealized image he or others have constructed, men who step into leadership without confronting their vulnerabilities may find themselves locked in cycles of self-doubt or reactive decision-making, potentially undermining their effectiveness. On the other hand, men who invest in self-reflection and emotional growth often find that their leadership emerges from a place of authenticity. By embracing an honest awareness of their limitations, they create an environment where others feel safe to express ideas and collaborate. In parallel with career and leadership concerns, relationships form a significant part of a man's psychological landscape. Friendships, romantic partnerships, and family connections can be sources of profound growth or tension. Many men struggle with forging deep friendships that go beyond shared interests or casual banter. Cultural messages might discourage the open sharing of deeper emotions among male friends, so conversations can remain surface level, leaving the heart's deeper fears and longings unexpressed. There is a quiet revolution in this area, however, as mental health initiatives and shifting societal attitudes encourage men to seek stronger emotional support systems. Peer groups and support networks that welcome honesty and vulnerability can counteract the isolation some men experience. Romantic relationships require navigating intimacy, communication, and trust. The old script for men might dictate being the primary breadwinner, the protector, the emotionally restrained partner who solves problems. Contemporary dynamics often favor joint decision-making, shared responsibilities, and emotional transparency. Many men find this transition exciting, opening up possibilities for genuine partnership. Yet some struggle with reconciling the new expectations with internalized roles. Communication can become fraught if both partners are unsure of how to share power and reveal vulnerabilities. A man might feel immense pressure to provide materially while also tending to the emotional side of the relationship. This tension can lead to misunderstandings or moments of crisis if not openly addressed. Fatherhood, for those who choose or find themselves on that path, can be a profound catalyst for psychological growth. Many men speak of a major shift in perspective when holding their child for the first time. Responsibilities expand, and the sense of purpose often deepens. But with that comes a weight of responsibility that can feel daunting. A father might fear repeating the perceived mistakes of his upbringing, or worry he lacks the patience, wisdom, or financial stability to offer his child the best environment. Society places a strong emphasis on the father's role as a provider and protector, yet modern fatherhood also involves emotional presence, active participation in daily care, and the nurturing of a strong bond. Balancing these myriad roles can be rewarding, yet exhausting. It opens the door to a profound re-examination of personal values and priorities. All of these responsibilities, leadership, career, relationships, fatherhood, intersect with an internal dialogue that questions whether one is a good man, a successful man, a strong man. Such judgments can shift as circumstances change. A setback in business might trigger shame or anxiety, especially if a man has tied his identity to financial success. A relationship conflict can produce guilt if it prompts memories of unresolved childhood hurts or a feeling of having failed as a partner. Health issues, particularly if they affect a man's physical abilities, can provoke existential dread about losing the strength and vitality that culture has associated with manhood. The capacity to manage these evolving self-perceptions can determine whether a man sinks into despair or rises to the challenge with resilience and courage. Resilience is an oft-cited quality in discussions about manhood. It entails the ability to recover from setbacks, whether they are professional, personal, or health-related. Some men cultivate resilience through mentorship, faith, community engagement, or therapy. Others turn to introspective practices such as journaling, meditation, or creative pursuits that help them process their experiences. The pathway to resilience is personal, shaped by upbringing, personality, and available resources. What remains universal, though, is the knowledge that life inevitably brings failure and loss. Handling those moments with honesty and self-compassion can lead to a deeper, more stable sense of identity. It can also dismantle some of the rigid stereotypes that stifle emotional well-being. Society plays a role in guiding men's development, but it can be a double-edged sword. Shifting cultural expectations can offer opportunities for expanded expressions of masculinity, allowing for nurturing, creative, or empathetic traits to flourish. Yet, persistent stereotypes continue to influence how men are perceived and how they perceive themselves. Media portrayals might still emphasize aggression, competition, and emotional restraint as hallmarks of male strength. Sports culture, workplace culture, and popular entertainment can perpetuate the idea that men must always dominate and never falter. Unraveling that narrative requires a collective effort to redefine success, strength, and emotional fortitude. Cultural nuances also play a significant role. In some parts of the world, men might be expected to remain in traditional roles as patriarchs of multi-generational households, upholding long-established customs. In other regions, the definition of manhood might be more fluid, incorporating progressive views on gender equality and emotional expression. Many men find themselves moving between these worlds, influenced by family traditions, as well as modern ideals. This migration can lead to internal confusion or tension within families when the younger generation's values differ significantly from the elders. Bridging these differences calls for open communication and mutual respect, though the process can be fraught if shame or fear becomes the driving force. Spiritual or philosophical inquiry can become another dimension of men's psychological journey. Some seek to align their sense of masculinity with larger ideals, whether that is a religious faith that emphasizes service and humility, or a philosophical tradition that prizes wisdom and self-knowledge. Engaging in spiritual or philosophical reflection can relieve some of the worldly pressures, helping men place their daily struggles in a broader context. It can also shape how they interact with others, injecting a degree of compassion and patience into family life, friendships, and professional settings. For some, these contemplative practices are essential to navigating the complexities of modern living. They offer a sense of grounding when external measures of success feel inadequate or oppressive. Throughout adulthood, milestones like marriage, parenthood, career achievements, or even retirement challenge men to reassess their priorities. Each phase brings new psychological tasks. Early career struggles might focus on proving oneself. Midlife can bring a reckoning if early dreams remain unfulfilled or if career triumphs fail to bring lasting satisfaction. Later in life, a man might revisit the question of meaning, evaluating whether he has left a positive legacy or grown wise enough to guide the next generation. The consistent thread through these shifts is the evolving identity that each man forges. It is never a static process, and the dynamic nature of these changes can be both exhilarating and frightening. For many men, adulthood also involves coming to terms with past traumas or unresolved issues. Childhood experiences, especially if marked by neglect, abuse, or intense pressure, can resurface at surprising moments. They might show up in anxieties around intimacy, difficulties trusting others, or a tendency towards self-sabotage. Therapeutic interventions, whether in the form of professional counseling or peer support groups, can help men confront these hidden wounds. Engaging with one's emotional history is often a transformative act, shifting old patterns and opening space for healthier relationships. However, the stigma around seeking mental health support continues to discourage some men from asking for help, reinforcing the myth that a real man handles all problems alone. Adding a further layer to the complexity, men often encounter societal reactions that oscillate between admiration and suspicion. The conversation around male privilege rightly highlights advantages men hold in many spheres of life, but it can also obscure the individual struggles and systemic pressures men face. Each man has a personal story shaped by circumstances like race, class, sexual orientation, and physical or mental abilities. These intersecting factors can compound the challenges he experiences. A man who does not fit the dominant social ideal might feel doubly marginalized, wrestling with the dissonance between who he is and who society expects him to be. Appreciating this diversity within manhood is a critical step in fully understanding the psychology of men. Across age and circumstance, one consistent goal for many men is the quest for respect. That desire can influence decisions about education, career, relationships, and even modes of self-expression. The longing to be respected by peers, loved ones, and the broader community can be a driving force behind achievements, or, conversely, can catalyze destructive behaviors if the path toward earning respect is misunderstood or twisted by peer pressure or misguided ideals. A man who feels consistently disrespected or disregarded might lash out in anger, withdraw into isolation, or become trapped in cycles of self-defeating behavior. Recognizing the roots of that need for respect can be a powerful moment of self-awareness, prompting healthier approaches to self-esteem and recognition. In this reflection, it is important to avoid painting all men with a single brush. The range of masculine expressions is vast. Some men feel more at home expressing their creativity than their competitiveness, preferring to devote energy to artistry or intellectual pursuits. Others find meaning in physical endeavors, such as sports or outdoor exploration. The quiet man who thrives on solitude and introspection is as valid an archetype of masculinity as the outspoken, charismatic leader. Indeed, part of the evolving conversation around men's psychology is the realization that authenticity and individuality are paramount, rather than a one-size-fits-all formula for being a real man. Society's embrace of that diversity remains a work in progress, but the walls are slowly cracking. Amid all these internal and external pressures, humor remains a cultural staple for many men. It can be a unifying force in male bonding, a coping mechanism during tough times, or a subtle way to express affection and camaraderie. However, humor can also mask deeper pains. Sarcasm and dark jokes sometimes hide unspoken hurt or fear. In environments where vulnerability is not encouraged, humor becomes a shield, allowing men to connect without revealing too much. Learning to discern playful banter from harmful masking is another layer in the psychological puzzle. When men feel safe enough to share genuine concerns behind their humor, stronger emotional bonds can form. To thrive, men must contend with the inner aspects of identity while navigating societal expectations. Central to this is the journey of self-awareness, recognizing one's patterns, how one responds to stress, how one handles emotions, how one interacts in relationships, requires deliberate introspection. Some men gravitate towards formal practices such as therapy or coaching. Others might find solace in a mentor figure who helps them see themselves with fresh eyes. Still others use personal creative outlets, writing, music, sculpture, or other forms of art, to mirror and examine their internal states. The end goal is often a sense of integration, where the man feels aligned with his deepest values and authentic self, rather than merely acting out scripts dictated by external pressures. Authentic self-expression brings its share of vulnerabilities. If a man steps off the path of conventional expectations, he might meet criticism or ostracism, Family members might question his choices if he abandons a traditional career to pursue something less predictable. Social circles might react with confusion if he becomes more open about his emotional life, stepping away from the stereotypical stance of reserved stoicism. Such reactions can be painful, particularly if the man depends on these circles for belonging. Yet, in forging new paths, men carve out space, not just for themselves, but for others who wish to break free from limiting definitions of manhood. Forgiveness is another psychological theme that arises. Men often carry regrets, words left unsaid, actions taken in anger, opportunities missed. Learning to forgive oneself for shortcomings or mistakes can be a crucial step in personal growth. Likewise, extending forgiveness to others who have shaped one's life can relieve the burdens of resentment or bitterness. This is not about excusing harmful behavior, but rather about freeing the psyche from cycles of anger. That emotional release can be liberating, allowing men to move forward without the weight of old pain dragging them back. An examination of men's psychology would be incomplete without acknowledging the relationship some men have with their bodies. Cultural messages about physical prowess, attractiveness, or muscular strength can create pressure to conform to an idealized image. Gyms and sports arenas can become spaces of camaraderie, but also spaces where men's anxieties about appearance or performance are amplified. Body image issues, disordered eating, or obsessive exercise routines are not solely the domain of women. Men, too, can struggle. The myth that a real man is perpetually strong and tireless can drive some to push their bodies beyond healthy limits, or to hide medical concerns out of fear of appearing weak. Recognizing and addressing these physical insecurities is another avenue of growth. Social media has layered modern complexities onto these issues. Platforms that celebrate success, physical beauty, and material wealth can intensify the pressure men feel to project a flawless image. A man scrolling through endless photos of luxury lifestyles and athletic triumphs might feel inadequate, not realizing the curation and artifice behind those feeds. The digital realm can foster connection and learning, but it can also feed comparison and envy. The psychological consequences are far-reaching, often intensifying feelings of loneliness or discontent. When men become aware of these challenges, they often look for role models who demonstrate a balanced way of living. Public figures who speak openly about vulnerability can provide a counter-narrative to traditional stoicism, but the personal search for mentors remains crucial. In a best-case scenario, a younger man might find an older, wiser individual willing to share insights gleaned from mistakes and triumphs. That connection can be life-changing, offering a template for approaching problems, building resilience, and treating others with respect. Mentorship does not have to be formal. It can be found in friendships, community organizations, or even through the pages of biographies and interviews. What matters is the realization that men need not navigate these complexities alone. Community is another pillar that can offer support. In some cultures, close-knit communities or extended families provide a robust network of guidance. In other cases, men may have to seek out clubs, groups, or online forums where open discussion is encouraged. Such groups can allow men to share stories, ask questions, and learn from diverse life experiences. This dynamic can reduce the isolation many feel, revealing that others grapple with the same self-doubts and confusions. True connection emerges not from competition, but from shared vulnerability and empathy. For those who reach later life stages, the question of legacy often arises. After a life spent chasing goals, building families, and facing adversity, older men might turn reflective. There is a desire to pass on wisdom, to reconcile old conflicts, and to find peace in the knowledge that life cannot be prolonged indefinitely. Health concerns, changing family structures, and shifts in social roles can lead to a re-evaluation of one's identity. The model of a grandfatherly figure dispensing advice is a common trope, but modern realities might look different. Retirement communities, online networks, or second careers can all shape how older men spend their days. Some embrace newfound freedom to explore passions they set aside decades earlier. Others struggle with feeling irrelevant or disconnected from a world that prizes youth and innovation. The psychological task is to craft a sense of meaning in these latter chapters, whether by mentoring younger generations, engaging in social causes, or immersing oneself in artistic or intellectual pursuits. Throughout these reflections, creativity emerges as a powerful force, whether through writing, painting, music, or invention. Creative expression allows men to channel deep-seated emotions, ideas, and hopes. It can also serve as a balm for trauma, an outlet for experiences that defy plain language. The problem-solving aspect of creativity aligns with a natural human inclination to shape the environment and leave a mark. For men who have been taught to keep emotions bottled up, the act of creating something tangible can liberate feelings otherwise left unspoken. This expression can happen at any age, providing a pathway to deeper self-understanding and connection with others. Education, both formal and informal, remains central to opening doors for men. Learning to question old assumptions, engage with new perspectives, and remain curious contributes greatly to psychological flexibility. Some men discover a lifelong passion for learning, while others find it only when necessity forces them to adapt. In either case, the capacity to evolve intellectually can soften the edges of rigid thinking, allowing a man to approach challenges with an open mind. It can also foster empathy by revealing the complexity of human experience. Education in this sense is more than acquiring job skills. It is about cultivating a capacity for critical thought, emotional depth, and ethical considerations. One recurring thread is the tension between individual authenticity and collective expectations. The modern man is frequently asked to be both tradition-bound and progressive, dominant yet empathetic, financially secure yet not materialistic, self-confident yet humble. Navigating these contradictions requires deftness and introspection. The process can lead to feelings of inadequacy if a man believes he must excel in every domain simultaneously. However, it can also be invigorating to expand beyond narrow confines and embrace the multifaceted nature of human potential. Realizing that manhood is not a monolith, but rather a dynamic interplay of traits, behaviors, and roles can free men to chart their paths. Trust is a vital component in relationships and self-development. Men who have endured betrayals or disappointments might fortify their emotional walls, finding it difficult to let others in. Conversely, some might place trust too quickly in search of validation. Striking a balance between healthy skepticism and openness can take time. Friendships thrive when trust is present. Relationships deepen when both parties feel safe. In leadership, trust fosters teamwork and loyalty. Cultivating trust often involves honesty, consistency, and a willingness to show vulnerability. Yet, many men have been conditioned to view vulnerability as a liability, creating a paradox. Learning that vulnerability can be a strength is a profound lesson, usually earned through real-world trials and supportive connections that model reciprocity. In addition to navigating trust, men grapple with boundaries. Personal boundaries in relationships, professional boundaries in the workplace, and emotional boundaries in family dynamics all require careful attention. Overstepping boundaries can result in conflict and resentment, while underasserting them can lead to a loss of identity or exploitation. Balancing assertiveness with respect for others' space is a nuanced skill. Men who absorb messages that they must always be in control might struggle with respecting boundaries, interpreting them as threats to their authority. Those who have been taught to downplay their own needs might have trouble setting firm lines to protect their well-being. The learning curve is steep, but mastery in this arena greatly enhances relational health and self-respect. As the journey progresses, men begin to develop a more subtle understanding of strength. The simplistic definition of strength as purely physical or stoic often expands to include empathy, patience, moral courage, and the willingness to take responsibility for mistakes. Strength can manifest as the father who wakes up at dawn to spend time with his child, the partner who actively listens during a difficult conversation, the colleague who steps back to let someone else take credit for a job well done, or the community member who stands up against injustice. This expansion of the idea of strength breaks old molds, allowing men to be pillars of support without sacrificing emotional honesty. Connection to nature can also hold meaning for some men. Activities such as hiking, fishing, gardening, or simply spending time outdoors can offer a sense of grounding and perspective. The natural world reminds us of larger cycles, of growth, decay, and renewal. Engaging with those cycles can help men step outside the ceaseless rush of modern life, affording space to reflect on priorities. In many spiritual and indigenous traditions, rituals in nature serve as rites of passage for young men, symbolizing their entry into adulthood and alignment with a greater whole. These experiences can shape a man's outlook, providing reference points for handling challenges and celebrating life's gifts. Underneath the myriad roles and responsibilities, men retain a childlike curiosity and wonder, reconnecting with that inner child through play, laughter, or imaginative pursuits can rejuvenate the spirit. The seriousness demanded by adult life sometimes smothers that playful aspect, leading to burnout or cynicism. Men who allow themselves periodic breaks from responsibility to indulge in leisure activities or to explore new skills often find renewed inspiration in both personal and professional realms. This is more than escapism. It is a recalibration that nurtures creativity and emotional health. The role of community service and altruism offers yet another avenue for men's psychological fulfillment. Volunteering in shelters, coaching youth sports, mentoring at-risk teens, or participating in environmental cleanups can validate the sense of responsibility men often feel. It broadens the scope of what leadership and contribution mean, showcasing that leadership is not limited to boardrooms or political arenas. Men who engage in service can derive a powerful sense of purpose, forging bonds with others who share their commitment. Altruistic activities also combat isolation, reminding men of the interconnectedness of human life. Amid these expansions and redefinitions, conflicts inevitably arise. Gender-based violence, toxic competitiveness, emotional suppression, and other destructive patterns persist. Addressing these issues requires concerted effort at the individual, community, and institutional levels. Men's self-reflection is a key piece of the puzzle, but it must be backed by societal changes that support healthier models of masculinity. Education, policy reforms, and public awareness campaigns can contribute to shifting norms. On a personal level, men who hold themselves accountable, challenge harmful beliefs, and commit to mutual respect can spark ripples of positive change. The ripple effect of one man's transformation can influence family, friends, and colleagues, potentially inspiring broader cultural shifts. The conversation around men's psychology is, at its core, a dialogue about humanity. It underlines the fact that every individual, regardless of gender, wrestles with identity, relationships, and the pursuit of meaning. What is unique to men is the backdrop of social constructs and historical expectations that form the tapestry of masculine experience. By unraveling some of the threads in that tapestry, it becomes possible to weave new patterns that honor authenticity, compassion, and personal growth. This weaving process invites collaboration, not just among men, but between all genders, since a harmonious society requires an inclusive vision of shared humanity. Many men find that their greatest teachers are the very relationships they form. A supportive partner can illuminate blind spots and encourage emotional openness. Children can show a father the beauty of innocence and the importance of patience. Elders can pass down wisdom and perspective, while younger generations can challenge outdated assumptions, fueling growth and adaptation. These relational experiences are the heart of what shapes a man throughout his lifetime. If approached with humility and a willingness to learn, they can become a profound source of personal evolution. Creativity, education, resilience, leadership, love, trust. These themes interlock and overlap, forming a mosaic of what it can mean to be a man. The mosaic is not static. Pieces shift. New pieces are added. Old pieces fall away. One of the abiding lessons is that being a man is not an end goal achieved at a certain age or milestone. It is a journey of becoming, shaped by experiences both internal and external. Each individual's story contributes to a broader narrative that continues to evolve with social changes and new understandings of human psychology. For those stepping into leadership, the path offers abundant opportunities for self-discovery. Leading a business team, a non-profit, a family, or a group of peers demands emotional intelligence, adaptability, and empathy. The hallmark of a leader is not the absence of doubt, but the capacity to keep moving forward while acknowledging it. This evolution away from the old model of authoritarian leadership parallels the broader changes in masculine identity. It shows that softness and strength can coexist, that listening can be more powerful than commanding, and that resilience is built through shared purpose rather than isolated bravado. Wherever a man finds himself, whether in a high-rise office, on a construction site, in the classroom, at home with children, or on a spiritual retreat, his psychological tapestry is woven from countless threads. Some of those threads represent joys and triumphs, others represent wounds and regrets. Each thread has a color, a texture, and a place in the overall pattern. Understanding how these threads come together can reveal the deeper meaning of manhood. In that meaning lies the potential for growth, leadership, and a life lived with intention and dignity. Allowing for vulnerability means allowing the tapestry to be seen as it is, frayed edges, bright patches, dark corners, and all. The more men are encouraged to share their vulnerabilities and challenges, the more others can offer support and empathy. This dynamic can dismantle feelings of isolation and replace them with communal strength. It stands as an antidote to the myth that men must bear burdens alone. Indeed, many men discover that their greatest strength emerges from a shared commitment to one another, whether in friendships, families, or larger communities. This collective approach fosters resilience not only in individuals, but in entire networks of people. The intimate connection between manhood and leadership extends beyond the professional or familial sphere. Leadership might also be expressed in social activism, neighborhood improvement efforts, or creative collaborations. It could manifest as standing up for marginalized groups, advocating for fairness in workplaces, or mentoring the next generation. These acts of leadership redefine what it means to hold responsibility, shifting it from a purely hierarchical notion to one of service and collaboration. Many men find this shift profoundly rewarding, as it aligns with an expanded sense of purpose that resonates more deeply than traditional measures of status. As the years pass, the internal journey of manhood continues to unfold. Mistakes become lessons, and lessons become wisdom. Even seemingly small decisions, how to speak to a colleague, whether to reach out to a distant family member, carry the potential to shape identity. The process is never complete. Each new challenge or transition reveals layers that were not visible before. In that sense, manhood is less a destination than a lifelong practice of learning to be human in a world that continually tests character and resolve. If one were to distill a core message from this expansive look at men's psychology, it might revolve around the primacy of authenticity and empathy. Men who dare to question inherited roles, who forge unique identities, and who practice empathy in their leadership and relationships often find greater fulfillment. They learn that real strength allows for tenderness and that true leadership invites cooperation. They recognize that manhood is shaped not by how rigidly one adheres to social norms, but by how courageously one seeks understanding, both of self and others. In the end, each man crafts his definition of what it takes to be a man and a leader. Some cling to tradition, others blaze new paths, and many settle in places between the two extremes. The common thread is the desire for respect, purpose, connection, and growth. Through introspection, risk-taking, and the steady integration of life's lessons, men continue to refine their sense of self. This ongoing evolution is the heartbeat of the male psyche. An ever-changing, ever-striving quest for wholeness. Such an understanding of manhood not only benefits men, but also contributes to healthier communities overall. When men show up as engaged fathers, supportive partners, compassionate leaders, and authentic individuals, the ripple effects are far-reaching. Children grow up with models of balanced masculinity, workplaces function more harmoniously, and society begins to transcend outdated, harmful stereotypes. The work is not simple. Generations of conditioning and entrenched norms cannot be undone overnight. Yet each step forward, each conversation held, each vulnerability shared, each empathetic act remakes the fabric of human interaction in positive ways. Change at times can provoke backlash or fear. Some men resist shifts in the masculine paradigm, believing that the call for emotional openness or egalitarian relationships undermines their identity. Their fears are not trivial, stemming from a sense of dislocation or perceived loss of status. It takes patience, dialogue, and empathy to bridge these divides. Men who embrace new understandings can lead by example, showing that manhood is not diminished by compassion. Over time, the success of these examples can convert skeptics, offering tangible proof that embracing modern definitions of masculinity need not erase the valuable elements of tradition, loyalty, bravery, commitment, but rather enriches them. In a world that feels increasingly fragmented, the need for thoughtful, empathetic leadership is paramount. Men have a critical role to play, provided they are willing to evolve alongside the culture. The psychology of men is a realm of both challenges and immense potential. It invites men to question, to grow, to communicate, and to lead with conscience and heart. The journey can be arduous, but it carries the promise of a life fully lived, a life in which the burdens of tradition can be transformed into something life-giving, nurturing, and innovative. Ultimately, the tapestry of manhood is woven from each story, each triumph, each failure, each quiet realization. No single thread is decisive. The beauty emerges from the interplay, the contrast, and the gradual layering of experience. Men's psychology thus becomes an art form, reflective of countless influences, yet utterly singular in each life. Recognizing that artistry can instill reverence for both the joy and the pain that shape a man's character. Embracing that artistry leads to a richly personal definition of manhood, wherein leadership flows naturally from self-knowledge and heartfelt engagement with the world. A man who has walked this path often emerges with a layered identity that no one else can replicate. He knows his rhythms, respects his strengths, accepts his weaknesses, and understands the value of community. He is not an island, but a node in a network of relationships. He cherishes respect, both given and received, and acknowledges the shared humanity in those around him. Such a man, guided by reflection and compassion, becomes an anchor in turbulent times. The outward expression of his leadership is an outgrowth of the inward work of aligning with his core values. This synergy between inner understanding and outer action is the essence of mature masculinity, a constantly evolving portrait of both the self and one's place in the wider sphere. Thus, the psychology of men is endlessly fascinating and vital, for it speaks to the broader question of what it means to be human. By unearthing the layers that shape manhood, it becomes possible to see how men's struggles and aspirations mirror those of all people. At the same time, there is a distinct flavor to the masculine journey, a blend of inherited roles, cultural scripts, biological factors, and personal choices. These layers intermingle, revealing the power of intentional living, the richness of emotional depth, and the promise of leadership born from empathy and humility. In acknowledging this complexity, men stand on the threshold of discovery, ready to redefine themselves and the world they inhabit. And in doing so, they not only enrich their own lives, but also light a path toward a more inclusive, compassionate society for everyone.